So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to take a trip down memory lane of the whole weekend. Kind of how I had envisioned it, how I had hoped it would work for all of us, because like you, I've lost someone. And I thought if I could put together some pieces that would help soothe me, I thought maybe they would help soothe you. And when I came up with the title, A Journey from Grief Toward Joy, in my mind, that very blatantly says, life is a journey. Joy is the destination. But as we all know, you can't move from 0 to 100 overnight. And I personally believe joy are moments. I do not think you can be 24/7 joyful. Think back over your whole life. But it's the things that stand out for us. The joyful moments really stand out, and the terrible moments really stand out. And then you've got this whole slice in the middle that you go, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to analyze this? I did ask if you could all bring a picture of your loved one with you and a picture of your younger self. If you forgot that, maybe you've got it on your social media, your Facebook, you could pull it out. Or you can just sort of visualize it if you forgot it. The reason why I wanted you to bring those is because I want you to sit here for the next minute, 60 seconds, and I want you to invite back that person that you're missing. I want you to ask them to sit with you over the next time we have together. And I also want you to think about your younger self and what you would tell your younger self from what you know now that they have coming. So we all have these moments of maybe blame or shame or things we wish we were different. But what would you tell that younger self? Standing in their shoes now, how could you help them if you were the older brother, the older sister to that person? And if you can bring those two personalities in and think about them as we go through this next time, it's going to help you integrate, it's going to help you heal, it's going to help you soothe that inner child, that person that was never seen, that our friends and our relatives don't understand because they have not gone through what we've gone through. And it might even help you understand that person who doesn't understand and give them a little more kindness and compassion when what you're really wishing people would do is soothe me, help me, fix me. But the only person that can fix me is me. And so if you have those two pictures, we can help. In my case, my husband, Mike, I'm going to say, Mike, I'm up here. I want to do really well by all these people sitting here. And I want you to come and help me. And I'm getting choked up because I know he's here. And I know your loved ones are here. And so when I say I want to take a trip back down memory lane, Rosemary was here Friday night. I'd like to think you all had a piece of evidence, whether you got the message directly yourself or you got it because you watched somebody else get a message, that we don't die, that life goes on, and that they're watching us, and they're helping us, and they're loving us, and they'll always be around us. And when it's our time to go, they're going to be the hand that meets us to say, come on over, welcome back home. That's my belief system. It doesn't have to be yours, but I'm hoping by Rosemary's talk on Friday night and Saturday morning that maybe just a little bit of hope, a little bit of something, a little spark makes you think it's possible. So then we also had Kristine Olsen. As you heard her story, the sudden loss of her daughter, the terrible hours trying to find out where her daughter was, the uncaring, offhanded manner in which she found out her daughter was in the morgue, And yet, through all that, she took that information and she knew life could be better for somebody else. She didn't want them to go through what she went through. And through the help of friends, and we all need the friends with us, somebody said, hey, I'll help you make a petition. And then other people, because she was wearing the band for TIFF, said, what's that about? And they spread the word. And for her to say 22 million people are now being saved that extra heartache because of her initiative, I was blown away by her. And I'm not saying we're all going to save 22 million people, but we might be able to help one other person because we know what it feels like to be down in the trenches of grief every day. And we also have a choice, and we also can determine our attitude as to if we can make a difference for ourselves, and perhaps maybe for somebody else. So after Kristine, we had Dr. Jack Giddens, the chaplain at Sarasota Memorial Hospital. And because of his educational background, he has been able to study all the religions of the world in order to get a doctorate. And he's been teaching for, I know it's over 20 years. I believe he's it was either Harvard or Yale graduate and Duke University graduate and a number of other places that he's taught at or he went to school with. And now he took all that information and he's actually changing the way that healthcare and chaplaincy interact so that all the patients in the hospital's lives can be improved. So every single one of us takes our life experience, maybe our educational background, even if we were Susie Homemaker, all those things that you need to run a home, and you can take that and you can bring it towards something, some kind of a focus, and somebody's life is going to be improved. Think about, we had cupcakes earlier for Diane's birthday. Susie Homemaker bakes the cupcakes and brings it into the children's classroom, and those kids have smiles for the day, right? If she didn't know how to bake those cupcakes, those kids wouldn't have had smiles, or the teacher wouldn't have had the extra time, to go do the lesson plan while that person's helping over there volunteering. Everybody makes a difference. Each one of you makes a difference. Each one of you being here makes a difference. And so think about that young person, who you were back then. How did they know what was coming ahead of them in life? And I was saying to a few people earlier today, because Judy was talking about her grandchildren and how she needs to stay here as opposed to committing suicide so that she can be the bridge to letting her grandchildren know about her son. There's something called meaning making when we've suffered these types of losses. So we can choose to be a victim, or we can choose to make meaning. And that's where your attitude comes in, and your desire. Let's face it, the first year, man, that's a blur, right? That's not a year you want to go back on. You don't even want to think about that year. The second year, personally, for me, I thought was worse than the first year. Because the first year, you're a little bit numbed. You're just trying to get through the motions. The second year you go, especially military family, I was used to him being gone for months or years at a time. And now that year's come up, it's like, all right, it's time for you to come home. I'm kind of sick of waiting around for this, and it doesn't happen. So year 2 is like the slap in the face of reality. For me, year 3 was slightly better, but I realized there's a big difference between hope and expectation. We hope people are going to be around for us, that they're going to see what we're going through, and that they're going to maybe step in and help. Me personally, I expected people to do it because I did it for them. And what happens when you have expectation? It usually fails, doesn't it? So for me, year 3 was a lot of self-discovery. It was a lot of, wow, I believed this, I did this, I had this habit. It's like taking a piece of furniture. It's all banged up, and you got to take all the shine off, the varnish off, and then you got to sand it down, and then you got to take out the little dings here and there, and then you have to look at it and go, what do I want this furniture to look like now? Am I going to put a different color stain on? Am I going to put a different color paint on? Am I going to make it a flat varnish? Am I going to make it a glossy, shiny varnish? We already know Felisa wants the gloss, and I think Diane wants the gloss. Determine how you want your life to go from right now, because it's your choice. And nobody can make that choice for you, nor should they. We talked about yesterday with Dr. Jack Giddens, when the people come and say to you, you know, they're in a better place, or all those other things that they say to you, thinking that they're helping, they probably don't really mean to do that, but we're in a very grief illiterate society. And unfortunately, it's the people who are grieving that need to be the educators for those who are not. And that's another role that we took on, not wanting to take it on. So after Jack, we had John Ferrari Jr., and he was the lawyer who gave us a lot of tips about estates and wills and advance directives, banking account information, real estate information. I found him extremely helpful because I realized there are a number of things I personally am not doing well, I guess I would say, things I've got to change. And I don't own real estate, but there's still things I've got to change. That forces us to look at our lifespan and what we want to do toward the end of our life to settle our affairs or to protect our loved ones who are left. These are things we all have to think of, practicalities. And me, I'm all about the practicalities. I love the woo-woo stuff, even though, as Rosemary said, it's not woo-woo, this is real life. But I really love the practicalities. I'm a person who's a planner, a strategizer, and an action taker. I used to be an EMT. I used to be a firefighter. My job was to be the first person in and take care of the situation and make it better. When my husband died unexpectedly, there was nobody coming in to save me. And I realized at that time, there are situations in life you just can't change. You have to adapt. And we're all learning and growing and adapting right now. So I've got a couple of, I've got a workbook here, and I've got an activity to follow the workbook. But what I want to start to do, some of you may know that since my husband's passing, I have become a children's book author. A short background on how that happened. My sister, who is a pediatrician outside Las Vegas, she has a little sort of farm home with donkeys and chickens and horses and ducks and cats and dogs. And when my husband Mike passed, she said, "Chris, come on out and stay with us for a week or so." You know, she didn't want me to be alone in the house. So she picked me up at the airport in Las Vegas. And as we were driving back to her home, she got a call from a nurse at the respite program. She kind of worked two jobs. She ran the respite program, and then she worked at Sunrise Hospital. And the nurse was saying to her in code, because of course she was following HIPAA, Mom A and Baby A, we know Baby A isn't going to make it. She just had delivered this baby, and Baby A wasn't expected to live for maybe a day or two. But Mom wanted to bring Baby A home to meet the family and have them all meet the baby. So there's this conversation about getting an ambulance and getting the oxygen and getting the types of medicine that they would need and training the parents and, you know, putting all this together. And I was blown away that these people, my own sister, do this every day, day in and day out. They make these kinds of arrangements because everybody, my son and daughter-in-law are due to have a baby early December. And of course, I'm thinking happy, healthy baby, new family member, but there are so many family members who don't get that opportunity. So I have just lost my husband, and I'm hearing this story about this poor young mother who isn't going to be able to have this baby around and see it grow. And I felt so much worse for her than I was feeling for myself. So as I went back to my sister's house, that's all I could think of over and over and over. And I'm getting up and I'm mucking out the stalls and I'm feeding the donkeys and I'm getting the eggs from the chicken and I'm just kind of, Charlotte's Web world, just interacting with these animals, right? And so the story sort of appeared in my head and I started writing it down and it wouldn't leave me. And so I found a young high school student who drew me pictures of the exact farm where my sister is. And it ended up being my book, A New Baby at Happy Gates Ranch. My full intent wasn't to be the author, wasn't to get accolades for the book. It was because she said in this respite program, they had opportunities to give back to the families. And I thought, even if for a 10-minute book read, I could make those families who are suffering these losses smile for a moment. A grandparent, a parent, a sibling could read this book to someone in that family just to take their mind off of what they were going through, then this book would be a success for me. And I wrote that book and I donated cases of it to that program. Well, it seemed to be a hit. So I wrote a second book, Buttercup the Brave. And this story is inspirational and courageous, where one little donkey sees a bee in their water trough, and all the other animals on the farm have been told bees are dangerous creatures. Their life isn't worth anything. But this one little donkey says every life is valuable and does everything she can to save this bee. So I've realized inspirational stories and inspirational things really fire me up. And my third book that's going to come out toward the end of December is another similar style book, not about Happy Gates Ranch, but this is a story about a family and baseball, because my husband was a huge baseball fanatic, is a huge baseball fanatic, and we raised our boys that way. But what really inspires me is, in this story, I've got two characters sitting on the grandstand watching the baseball game, and the girl's grandparents are around her in spirit, and the couple's fathers are there with arms holding around them because, like Rosemary says, this is natural. This is what's happening. And so I'll actually have visuals of this in the book, and I'm not sure that that's been done before. So I kind of hope that's getting out there. So I like walking my talk. I like spreading the word of what I see. People can believe it or not believe it. They can take the pieces if they want and leave the rest. It doesn't matter to me, because life is about joy and life is about what's making us happy, and these books make me happy. So I have this packet here, and it's called the Life Alignment Compass. And we're going to go through a series of prompts. I want you to use your journals. And we're going to go over different areas of our life. It could be health, it could be emotional, it could be financial, career. We're going to go through all of these. And I'm going to ask you to spend a couple of minutes of time. I'm going to read something. You're going to write something down about what you think about it. And then we're going to come up with your own grading system, which basically gives you a snapshot of where you are now. Prior to me giving this to you, though, I need to talk about emotions. So, Diane talked about this. I think Rosemary talked about this. Maybe even Jack talked about this. We're so good at saying, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm angry. There's these high-level overarching emotions. But what we're not really good at is to dig deep and ask the why or ask the what. I'm sad. Okay, what does that really mean? I'm angry. What does that mean? Think about the word anger. You got the gamut from, just a little bit annoyed all the way over here to rage, right? I want you to think about emotions while you're doing this exercise. I want to see if you can dig deep and at least go one level more than you normally go. Because emotions are, let's call them our way markers, our cheerleaders. When the emotion pops up, it's telling you, look at me, this is important. And so if it ends up being on the negative scale, because you talked about power versus force there, Diane, where our emotions sit is where our life goes. It's what we draw to us. So think about the different variations, and I've got a list of emotions in this packet that if you can't sort of figure through that. Did your list have emotions too, Diane? I forget. Yeah, so you got kind of two lists to go by. So I'm going to hand out these packets. So I've just handed out the life alignment compass to each of you at the table. The very first page is blank so that you can write your notes, anything that pops up. We're going to move through the rest of the stories about the compass is, and the compass is actually in the back of your packet. It looks like this. Our end result is we're going to give ourselves a grade on this compass. And this doesn't mean like a pass or failure grade. It's a numerical value. Think about if this were a wheel in a car. Are all the numbers in the same place? They're all, 8s or 6s or 10s or 1s. Then your ride is smooth along that way. But if you've got some 0s and some 8s and some 2s and some 6s, your tire is not in alignment on that car, and it's going to be a pretty bumpy ride. This is going to be our end result for this portion of the workshop. So I want you to think back, well, I can think back because we were stationed in Germany, and they have Christmas markets over there. And I can think back to the smell of Glühwein and crisp air and lights and music and Christmas markety sales, ornaments for trees and things like that. Evoke the emotions when we're going through this process. Smell the smells, see the scenes, pull back the memories. So the Christmas markets in Europe are magic. Each one is unique. The smells of roasted chestnuts and mulled wine, the shimmer of handmade ornaments, the hum of carols sung in languages you don't speak. You can fly across the Atlantic, take a train or a bus or a boat. Eventually, you're going to have to rest. Your feet will ache, your bags will feel heavier. The charm of the adventure will start to tangle with fatigue. At some point, you might get lost in the city. No one speaks English. You might overspend on something that you didn't need. You might eat something that doesn't agree with you, but still you'll find wonder. You'll find beauty in the small moments, candles in the cathedral, laughter from a stranger, the smell of cinnamon in the air. This is what the journey of grief is like. Each stop is another part of life. Health, love, home, faith, purpose, family. You will walk through them all at your own pace. Some places you'll want to stay. Some places you'll rush past. Some you'll need to return to later. You will not live in any one stop forever, because this is a journey, not a destination. So on the chart, there's a section called health or physical. This is where you're going to take your journey out. Grief shows up in the body before it reaches the mind. Your heart races for no reason. Your stomach knots. Your limbs feel like wet sand. Sleep won't come or it won't go. It's like driving a car that looks fine on the outside but pulls to one side after the storm. The steering wheel vibrates, the brakes squeak, the warning lights flicker. The body remembers everything, every hospital vigil, every phone call that changed your life, every night you woke up to silence. You might decide to eat for comfort, or you might forget to eat at all. You might have stopped walking, swimming, hiking, because those were things you did together. This section isn't about self-improvement. It's about self-listening. What's your body saying right now? Does it need movement? Does it need stillness? Does it need food, hydration, or grace? This is the vehicle that carried you this far, and it deserves your care. So I want you to really think about your health and your body. And when you look on the wheel, the compass wheel, assign it a number, 0 to 10, 10 being the best, 0 being the worst. Write some notes about why you chose that number so when you look back to it later, you have that information. And I'll give you, what do you think you need? 3 minutes, 5 minutes? There is no right answer. So we're going to go to the next section of our wheel, the emotional piece. So emotions and grief travel in caravans. They're not just one thing. You can refer back to the resource section in the back of the packet, and it gives you some key words about emotions in case you've never really assigned that emotion. You've just used those high-arching ones. So anger, sorrow, relief, guilt, or gratitude. Sometimes it's a train of emotions that all come together, and you really just feel the rage or the frustration or the victimhood, but when you realize there are other things in that train that are actually attached, and in realizing that, once you can sort of peel off those cars of that train, and you can really get to the root thing that you're feeling, that's going to bring such great relief. So one moment you're functioning, the next, a song or a smell sends you spiraling. You might find yourself in the grocery store crying over their favorite cereal. For me, I could not pass by the bananas for the life of me because every week on my grocery shopping trip, I would get bananas for my husband. I don't like bananas, he did. I just avoided the banana line. And you probably feel some similar things. The kids like we were talking about chicken wings yesterday, right? Yeah, because it just brings that back and the pleasure is just not there. Did you go? That's phenomenal. Oh my God, that makes me so bad. I can imagine how happy he is. That is so great. Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, so you might feel disgusted with yourself for feeling angry or angry at yourself for not crying enough because we have societal expectations, right? We have the way that the people who, grew us up, our family members, expected us to be certain ways. I was thinking this morning. For a funeral or what do they call them, a celebration of life, you know how it used to be everybody wears black. Or now we've moved to navy blue. It's, the formality of it. It's how we show up. Do you think they care? For my husband's, we didn't, I guess you could say we had a celebration of life, but the town actually put out a granite bench for him between the two ball fields because he was an umpire and a coach and a manager and he did all that kind of stuff. And I asked everybody, just wear black and orange because he loves the Baltimore Orioles. I didn't want any of that formal stuff because I knew he didn't want any of that formal stuff. But we could have guilt or shame by saying that because people are going to show up. What? You're smiling at this kind of thing? I've been fortunate enough to be around Rosemary Altea for 25 years. I am one of her trained healers. It took me 4 years to earn that. And then I've just been working with her ever since and learning along the way. And although I know a lot more than I knew 25 years ago, I know there's still so much I need to know. So I would say to you, don't live by somebody else's expectation. Have your own expectation. Look at that little girl or that little boy that we're talking about earlier and tell them not to cave to do things that somebody else thinks that they should do. Look them right in the eye and say, from now on, we're going to do what we want to do. Provided, of course, it's not going to hurt somebody. But don't care what somebody else thinks. Just be really proud of that person you look in the mirror. Make them happy. So on this emotional and mental part, pie, the slice here, I want you to go back and think about where you are right now. Think about perhaps some, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Just come up with the emotions that you have felt through this path since you've lost your loved one. And of course, I say that loosely because yes, we've lost them here in the physical, but we know we haven't lost them. Where are you right now on the emotional scale? And you actually might put two numbers. What you came in on Friday with and where you are today. Because I think sometimes we build up our confidence if something has changed. And if we can see a change in number, we know we're moving forward. So give yourself a number and write some notes in there as to why that number is where you are right now. So I think we're going to move on to the third one, the spiritual part of the life alignment compass. Jack said yesterday, he was talking about religion or spirituality or faith. I have a son who believes in none of this. I don't know what he counts on when it gets rough. I really don't know. So you can be agnostic, you can be an atheist, but there's something within you that holds on to something when life gets tough. I don't know what you want to name it. I'm not going to name it. But this is what I'm talking about, that place that you go to, that person that you talk to, that inner voice that you talk to, that resource that you go to. That's what this part of the wheel is about. So when grief hits, it's like being in your car and your GPS is gone. It's gone haywire. You don't know where to go because you don't know where you are. You don't know where you're going to go to. You might still believe in God, or you might be angry at God. You might pray and feel nothing because everything of yours has been taken away. Across all faiths, people keep talking to those who have died. They talk to Jesus, they talk to Buddha, they talk to Krishna, they talk to their ancestors. Jack was talking about that yesterday with religions. Death doesn't end the conversation. It just changes the channel. I always like to say to people, when you're in your car and you turn on the radio, it's kind of coming in that squirrely, staticky kind of thing. You try to, move the channel up, 0.1, 0.2, 0.4, whatever, to try to tune it in. That's what we can do with some of the practices that Rosemary was talking about, even in her book over there, You Own the Power, and she's got a bunch of YouTube things that you can go on to. We can tune into them. The meditation, even the walking meditation that Felisa was trying to do out here earlier today. There's ways to tune in. There's ways to quiet the chaos out there and kind of go inward. You might receive signs. On the table, feel free to take anything on the tables when you leave, if that means anything to you. Feathers, nickels, dimes, quarters. cardinals showing up, weird electrical anomalies in the house. The batteries are always dying in the clocks. The refrigerator shuts off. The microwave no longer works. Alarms are going off in your phone that shouldn't be going off of. All these weird kinds of things. That's one way they communicate with you. Sometimes you might, sort of feel like somebody's playing with your hair. You might get shivers come over your body. There's all kinds of ways they speak to us. But when you quiet yourself, then you're going to figure out what their sign is to show you how they're around. We can't all be the great Rosemary Altea, who's got a direct line and is seeing them all in front of us, but we can still figure out ways that we can connect with them. So this area about spirituality and faith, I want you to think about where you sit there, and it's kind of a weird thing to give it a 0 or a 10, because I'm not asking you to grade, do you believe in a God? But do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in your soul? Do you believe in something, someone that you can go to when it hits the fan, that you can trust, that you can always feel safe and secure with? That's where I want you to live in, and when you give this number. So feel free to journal about that and then assign yourself a number.
What if that place I go to is me first?
I'm sorry.
But that place I go to is to look in first and try to determine what emotion I had, and then use that to go, okay, I'm gonna go talk to her because I know she can handle, today I feel sarcastic and angry, and I know if I talk to her, she understands my sarcasm. Or maybe today I feel sad and lonely, and I want to talk to her because I know she understands that. Is that what you're wanting us to?
So I think what your question is, because I want to repeat it so others can hear it, is can you use the voice inside of yourself to help direct you to, let's call them resources, whether it's a friend or a counselor or, a trusted individual? Does that fit within this category?
Nobody. Maybe I figure it out within myself, and then I have my own sources to be able to help myself, because maybe I need an immediate something.
Yourself is your soul. So your soul is you, and your soul is connected to all that is, from what I understand. And that would absolutely fit in this place. I mean, because if you do a lot of meditation, you're already connecting with that part of yourself. Yeah, you don't have to be out there in the self-guided religious world. The Native Americans would walk through the woods and they would talk to Father Moon and, what did they call the sun? Mother, sun, I don't know, Gaia. They would see the animals and, the eagle would mean something, the bear would mean something, the deer would mean something. So it's just what you connect with that means something to you. Are we good in this section? Should we move on? Okay. Financial. I personally hated this one. I kind of still hate this one because when your better half is gone and it's just you making the money. So this is, as I wrote here, money becomes another road that you didn't plan to drive alone. The bills keep coming, the paperwork piles up, and the person who once managed it all might be the one that's gone. You might be like someone thrown from an automatic into a stick shift at the top of a hill, jerking forward, stalling, grinding gears. You're learning to drive again, and that takes courage. For some, income shrinks. For others, debt swells. Some have to sell the house. Others take new jobs out of sheer necessity. Don't consider it failure. Consider it recalibration. So take stock. Pull into the rest area. Look honestly at what must be paid, what can wait, where you can ask for help, because every traveler reassesses their routes when conditions change. So sit there and think about your assets or non-assets. Think about where you're sitting right now. And remember, none of this is doomsday. This is a snapshot in time. Because in the end, when we look at this snapshot, it's like going into the mall and finding the directory and looking for the red arrow that says you are here. Because you have to know where you are before you know where you want to go and how to get there. So none of these numbers that we come up with is anything to be shameful or fearful. It's literally a factual piece of information. Is everyone good here? All right, we'll move on to the section work, career, or purpose. Because we're all at different stages of life. Some of us are working the 9 to 5. Some of us are still in the career. Some of us have retired. Some of us are taking a break because of what happened, and we simply need to figure out where we want to go next. So our purpose in life can vanish when we've lost someone. Our world is totally upended, and it's hard to even think about anything other than getting up in the morning and maybe taking a shower, and if we're hungry, getting some food down our gut, and maybe we got to pay the rent to make sure we have, a roof over our heads. So what mattered probably feels really hollow, especially in the first few years. You may go to work just to keep the lights on, or you might feel an unexpected tug towards something that feels more meaningful. When you think about the people who made mad Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, their purpose was completely changed because of what happened to their loved ones. Our purposes might change. We might be able to give ourselves permission to go after that thing that really means something to us instead of, working the 9 to 5 where we were. It's an opportunity. It's a door to think about what really matters to us in life now. These are one of the gifts that grief gives us, if we allow it. So think of purpose as a road sign that's still standing after the storm, like the hurricanes we had here last year. It's bent, but it's not gone. Sometimes purpose shows up quietly. You find in helping somebody else, you feel better. You find if you create something, maybe you become a painter. In my case, I became a writer. Creativity inspires. But more importantly, it helps us survive. It becomes a new mechanism to keep going. So even the smallest spark, a thought, an idea, or a calling, is enough to keep forward toward a new kind of fulfillment. So whether you're working the 9 to 5 or you're in a career you really love, are you finding purpose? Your purpose may be a volunteer job after the 9 to 5. It's something that calls you when you get up. I want to go play that piano. I want to learn to play guitar. I want to learn to speak Spanish. I want to go help the people down at the food bank. I want to go save the sea turtles. It doesn't matter. It's what nice. We need that. The sea turtles need that. So these are the things that, think about when you were a child. We used to get these coloring books that were also activity books. Connect the dots, follow the numbers, or just coloring books, those kind of things. Things that were really crafty, the little paint sets. We used to raid my father's garage and his workbench. He was a carpenter, so he had all his tools out there. And He'd have scrap wood that he would bring home from jobs, and sure enough, we'd go out there and we'd take all his tools and we'd run off to the woods and we'd start building ourselves a fort. Think about those things that really fired you up as a kid. And maybe we've stopped that because life got in the way. You know, some people have gone to those, what do they call them, paint and sips? And now all of a sudden they're taking, you know, little canvases out to the golf and they're learning how to paint there. You gotta find something that fires you up. So assign yourself a number to that, and when you think about that, what your purpose, what your work, what your career, what your volunteer activity is, make sure you write that emotion next to it. What about that thing fires me up? Because we want to find more of those things.
What number is when it's on hold? You know, what number do you give it for really literally on hold?
So I'm hearing you say, what number is on hold? There is no work, there's no volunteer activity, you feel no purpose. What number would you assign that? Is that what you're saying? Well, let's work through that. Let's all work through that. What would anybody else here have to offer for that? Because it seems to me like I'm hearing a person still stuck in that area between, I don't know if I want to move forward, and I still want to stay in grief and everything that's happened to me.
It's about, it's more about I was going to leave, so I undid everything. And I was going to move, and now I'm not going to leave. And then it's kind of like you're just sitting holding a space. Yes, I'm going to yoga, and yes, I'm going to meditate with a group, but it's not work.
So things have changed for you recently. You
Yeah, but
didn't
prior
know if you were going to move or if you're
prior
going to
to the
stay.
grief. Prior.
That happened prior to the grief.
So it's not about the grief. The stopping and everything froze, it's on hold. So to me, what comes to mind is just a zero. It's holding, it's waiting.
If I look at this and I'm saying I'm not working and I have no career, but I have nothing that really fires me up when I get up in the morning to say, I'm going to go do this, I would give it a 0. But I'm not sure that would truly be accurate
agree,
with what
yes.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Even if you gave it a 1 or a 2 because you're helping save the sea turtles or you're going to yoga, you're doing something that fires you up.
You can go into yoga, that doesn't fire me up.
Oh, but no. All right.
I don't know, can you even
The fact
say,
that you're getting up and.
yeah, that's.
You know, see, I'm getting that, and I'm
Getting
okay,
that.
I'm okay, but I'm not, in the work category, there's nothing.
Yeah, But
That's
she also
why.
has
I don't see it
purpose.
as bad.
She also has purpose
Yeah,
there too.
that's gone too, so,
Maybe work isn't the right word, maybe
Yeah,
it's
maybe work-
purpose.
maybe-
you know?
Well, because when I thought this up, right, I think of Susie Homemaker, because I went through a stage like that for a couple of years when my kids were young. A lot of people don't think that women who stay home have a job. I personally think that's probably one of the hardest jobs in the world to do. But some people don't categorize it as a job, and they certainly have a purpose. So you just kind of have to see how your life goes, and maybe that's a big aha for you to put in your journal, like, do I have a purpose? Am I doing something right now?
Yeah. It hasn't been long since I've begun this journey, so I'm kind of fresh. I mean, still in my first years.
Oh,
And as I said, this is a judgment-free zone, and you need to be judgment-free for
It's only been a
yourself.
few months, so I think, and because being on hold in the work area felt right. Just not, yes, I had a lot of plans there. Just, it's all, so I'm gonna put a 0 just because I know what I mean.
And you feel comfortable with that,
Yeah,
because it's your number. It's not my number, right?
true.
It's a snapshot in time. And the cool thing about this packet is you can take this out in a month, you can take it out in 3 months, you can take it out in a year, and reassess and give yourself new numbers for where you're at now. So now we're going to move to the home and environment. Home is where you could exhale. but now it might feel like the crash site. You walk in and see their shoes by the door, their mug on the counter, their scent still clinging to the air. Some rooms feel safe and others feel like walking into a memory that swallows you whole. You might begin to clean obsessively. You might repaint, you might move furniture, or you might do none of it. Do not touch that cup on the counter. Do not move those shoes. That toothbrush is staying there. I'm leaving all those clothes in the closet, right? Think of this as your post-storm house inspection. Which rooms in your home currently feel like a refuge and which ones drain you? Even a small change like changing the colors. Diane talked about colors today. Rosemary spoke about colors. When you look at those rooms, journal about this. What do you do to need it to make more safe and secure and happy? I know there's books out there about feng shui. Marie Kondo does cleaning up of things. But simply, we were talking about by just changing the colors you're wearing, that can make a difference. Moving furniture in a certain way around the room, that can make a difference. When I first moved here to Florida, all the things from our apartment and all the things from our storage unit came together because he was in the military. The things in our storage unit I hadn't seen for 7 years. And now I'm down to a tiny 2-bedroom apartment, and I've got boxes upon boxes upon boxes. And Felisa, God, you could tell her about my husband's baseball cards. A total big closet full of baseball cards that I'm trying to figure out what the heck to do with it. It clutters the mind. You don't want to do the wrong thing. You want to sell it and get the money that he thought might have been value to it. You can't stand having the cards in the house anymore. Think about areas of your house that could maybe use some cleaning out, some refreshing of the covers, changing the bed linens, renovating a kitchen, putting in a patio with some nice chairs out in the back of the house. Those are things maybe off into the future, but just think about that room that you walk in that just feels so damn cluttered. Or think about the bedroom of that child that you still have their posters on the wall, or, the clothes that they wore when they would come home to visit, or, things like that. If you want those things there and they make you happy, they should stay there. But if they don't make you happy or you feel cluttered, that might be something to put on the to-do list for later on this year about what you want to see to do to change those areas. So think of the emotions you feel in all those different rooms of your house. Assign yourself an overall number of how you feel about your home and environment.
You have family as a subgroup, but there's no family on the wheel.
That's what connection is family.
Oh, that's
No,
connection.
I'm sorry. There is.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that.
Am I going too slow? Should I go a little bit faster to get to the next one?
I'll tell you what it is.
It will be under connection.
Yeah, it'll all come together.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I get it.
Because I pretty much wait till I see you stop writing and then I know you're done. Because this might be the only time in your life you actually take this moment to really analyze where you're at. Nobody ever asks you that question when they walk up to you. Hi, how are you? Oh, just fine. Right?
Because they can't handle the truth.
Or they really don't
They can't
want to know
handle
how
the
you feel.
truth.
Yeah,
Right.
they don't want to know how you feel. They're just
Be
asking,
nice.
yeah, they're just being nice.
So I'm hearing you say they don't want to know how you feel and they're just trying to be
They're just
nice.
trying to be nice.
Yeah.
Or they just say it out of, people say, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm great, how are you? And then you just move on. You don't want to, I don't have time to stop and listen. I'm off to do other things. I'm just doing what I'm doing. That's why,
Formality.
yeah, it's a formality.
Cultural thing.
Yeah, that's why I always stop people, when people always say, I'll say, how you feeling? You really want to know? Well, I wouldn't have asked if I didn't really want to know how you feel, yeah. But that's a rarity, though, that people really want.
Go ahead, Diane.
In reality, I have to share this one little experience I had,
Repeat
because
what you say so everybody can hear.
I, being in my practice, I'm used to asking people how they feel, and I was out at a supermarket and ran into a high school classmate of mine who was not a patient, and I was like, hey, how are you? Well, she went into a 15-minute thing about all this horrible stuff in her life, and I just stood there like, I am so sorry I asked. So from that point on, I made sure when I was looking at somebody, do I really want to ask them how they're feeling? You know, if I'm in my office, it's different, but sometimes when you're out on the street, you don't know what to expect, and you haven't seen the person in a long time. It's a question that might need to be readdressed, in my mind anyway.
So I'm hearing you say that you ran into somebody while you were out and you asked hey, how are you? And they took up 15 minutes of time telling you how they really were when you weren't expecting a long drawn out answer like that, and you probably had things to do and go, and you just kind of wanted to go. So now you have decided to really question when you ask, how are you? You're fine to do it in your practice, but maybe not so much in the grocery store or places like that, right?
Now it's like, oh, it's so nice to see you, take care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's just something I never expected. That's the only time something like that really happened to me, though. I was kind of overwhelmed by it.
So I want you to think back again to those pictures. Think about your loved one and think about your younger self. And how do you think that they would answer this or help you answer this? Because they care about you. They would have been the person sitting across the table. How are you, Mom? How are you, Dad? How are you, hubby? How are you, wife? They would really have wanted to know how you are. And you want to tell them the truth. You want to tell that younger self of you the truth. So now we move to family. And I laugh when I think of this because there are 9 children in my family as I grew up. 7 of them lived with me, and I found the other 2 about 6-7 years ago. And we had a Ford Falcon station wagon. Of course, no seat belts back in the day. And when we would go on road trips, it was kind of hell on wheels. But I still think of it very fondly. So family can feel like a full car, where some of the people in the car are giving you comfort, and others are giving you unsolicited directions, and we know we've run into all those people. Sometimes there's squabbling in the back seat. It might be over the will, it might be over the trust, it might be over what we get, what we don't get. So after loss, every person has an opinion on how you should grieve. How many of you have run into those people? Not usually a good story, right? But there are some who hover around, and there's some people who vanish. The ones who vanish are the ones that really surprised me, because those were the ones I thought were going to hang around. I have better, closer friends now who were strangers to begin with than I had of my very close family members who I thought would be right by my side. And I think that's more the norm of what happens. And that's where I talked about hope versus expectation. You hope for those things, but I expected it, and it hurt. Man, it hurt bad when they weren't around. It still hurts. It still hurts that they don't get it. And so I'm sure you have those kinds of people in your life.
One of my family members told me exactly that. I have too high expectations.
So your family member said you have too high expectations.
Yeah, other than that, no, I shouldn't expect any of them to help me or support me.
And so when they told you that, it stung, didn't it? Were you surprised?
I was shocked.
You were shocked.
This your sister, you said?
Yeah, sister.
I had a son say to me, Mom, I can't help you because I can barely help myself.
And
But
then
that's an honest
I was
reaction.
engaged to someone.
Yes, I think that's an honest thing. If he can't help you and he tells you, I can live with that more so than I could with the sister that says, come on, man, get over it. You know,
Yeah, well, totally.
don't expect us to be here for you forever.
And then I was engaged to a guy, and he left. He told me that I was too emotional, he couldn't deal with it.
Oh my God.
So a fiance thought you were too emotional. A sibling thought,
He probably
Nobody
saved
wanted
you.
to deal with it.
Too emotional, sibling thought too. They both look pretty.
Wow. But you are what you are.
Yeah, 5 years we were together.
Oh my God.
Wow.
and that's devastating on top of your already thing that you're devastated about.
Yeah.
Would you say, looking back, were you similar to me, where you had expectation versus hope?
I'm sorry, what, sorry.
So my story was, I expected my siblings to be there for me. I expected my children to be there for me. I expected them to check in on me. What I should have been doing is hoping they would, because expectation when it's not met crushes you. Hope when it's not met, you still have that little line that left that room for the doubt or the fact that you weren't going to get it. And so it's less devastating. Which one do you think you were?
Figured, you know, you lose a child, that people will rally around you, they don't.
Yeah.
In fact, if you have a kid that commits suicide, that's like, holy, like, we don't want to come near you.
Like taboo.
It's very taboo.
It's contagious, yeah.
Nobody wants to touch you.
I have seen that a lot. I have met a lot of people
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
dealing with suicide, and it seems to be there's shame and betrayal around that, as if that child who is going through something, who is overwhelmed by that something, is going to fall on you, and that you should be shameful, or you could have done more, you could have said more, whatever, when there's just no way. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it. If it's their time, it's going to happen. All right, now we're moving into the love relationships. And this has everything to do with loving your cat and dog, to loving your spouse, to loving your sibling. Well, no, we're going to take siblings out of it because that was under family, but more the intimate relationships. And I don't mean necessarily sexual, although they could be. It's just that person that you know you can confide in, that they're going to be around for you, that they understand who you are and what you're up to and what you're going through. Do you have that person in your life? That's what you want to mark down on your, the pie of the compass there. And as you're thinking of it also, you could move on to the social community, because those could be your coworkers, those could be your friends. I think I wrote in here, the friend that stays until nearly midnight helping you assemble a chair, because that was Felisa and I on Thursday night.
And it's a lovely chair.
It's still up. It's working.
You know, for me, because when it all happened for me, I lived in New Jersey. So moving to Florida and making new friends. One of the reasons I came tonight is because I need, for the holidays, I need to grieve. My son is 17 years, it doesn't matter. I still need to have joy at Christmas. I need an out. You know, I need a safe space with people who feel the same way as I do. So I've been here since 2015, and yes, I have friends. But I figured out that they're not as close as friends as
Fair weather friends, perhaps.
Well, they're neighbors, really, but we've been, out to dinner multiple times, been at each other's houses multiple times. And the person was talking about visiting different military, like Pearl Harbor, Normandy, and then she says, "Oh, Arlington. Have you ever been to Arlington?" And I turned around and I looked at her and I said, "My son Michael is buried there, and I've been there multiple times." And it hurt my heart.
So you're with these people that you think are friends, they're neighbors, you interact with them
And
often.
I know I've told them multiple times.
And you have expressed that your son's in Arlington, but then they're asking you, have you been to all these military installations?
Friends.
They know how he died, they know where he is, and they forgot, I guess, and expectations.
Yeah.
Well, I get you totally, because when I moved down here in 2022, from Vermont here to Florida, I didn't know anybody. I actually went to stay with Rosemary, and then the hurricanes hit and her place got trashed. So I was homeless, and I had nobody down here. So I went on a little road trip. First time in my life I've ever been anxious in my life, ever. I took a road trip out west and I was hitting different places. And I almost got to the point where I had to pull over on the highway because I didn't even think I could drive anymore. I don't know where it came out of the blue. When people said to me before, "Oh, I get anxious," I was like, okay, I think I know what it means. I know what the definition is. But suddenly I'm out in the middle of the nowhere and I'm starting to drum up all these things. What if the car breaks down? What if I can't find a hotel? What if I put the wrong gas in? What if I get a flat tire? I was just drumming up all these things and this anxiety just came over me. And then, when I finally got down here and then I found an apartment, I'm still alone. Rosemary's not in Florida all the time, and she was the one person I knew in the apartment building I lived. Nobody interacts with each other. So, and then you're not working outside the home, right? So there's just no way to meet new people. But there came to be a point where I was literally deathly sick. I had sepsis. And I was in the hospital alone, nobody visiting, nobody knowing what's going on. And my same sister that I, told you about the story with the book, I called her up to tell her what was going on. And she's like, "Chris, you got to get yourself to the hospital. Like, you could die of this." And I said, "Well, then could you call the boys, both my sons, and tell them in, layman's terminology what's happening with me?" And then after my surgery, they made their way down here. But you want to talk about being alone? Yeah, I know what that feels like. And you certainly hope you're going to have a friend that you can really count on. I've been real fortunate because I met Felisa in a writing group. And as I was on this trip where I was really anxious, I was like, man, you got to find somebody you know. You got to get off the road and you got to just find somebody you know. And I'm like, I'm an introvert. I am really an introvert by nature. For me to reach out to other people, that's really tough. I don't know if it's a prideful thing or a fear of being rejected thing or whatever it is. And I was just like, all right, she lives in Kansas. Let me call her up and see if we can meet for dinner. And that's what we did. And then we had a conversation because she'd been thinking about, is it okay if I say this? She'd been thinking about moving out of Kansas for a while, and because she saw me on this road trip and went, kind of like, wow, you're brave, you're doing this, you're getting out here. Maybe I could do this too. And then a year later, you moved down to Florida, and she and I have been, trying to figure it out together. So between Felisa and Rosemary, and now Diane, because she ended up being my chiropractor, we're starting to build, on some friendship here. And one of my biggest dreams for this weekend was for me to meet new people, to expand my family, my new family. I'd love to have you in my family. Let's stay in contact. Any of you, I would love to have you in my family because we all need each other.
When the invitation came from Tex, I said, I need to go and be with military people.
Tech, such a connector.
And
That's
that's,
where I feel just so at home, is when I'm within the tax community. People.
Me
I've
too.
talked to you two about that.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I met them in February.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
Another tax.
the tax tragedy assistance program for survivors. So, of military loss.
Oh, in the
You're
military.
Yeah, you're surviving.
That was great. That is amazing.
Military
They're
survivor.
so supportive, aren't they?
Wow. Right.
Amazing. And there's a lot of us.
Oh, there's so many of us.
Anything for
That.
lay people here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on an online support group, but that has people from all, you know, there, it's not like you can call someone up and say, hey, do you want to go for coffee? You know,
Well, here's the thing about those of us who have suffered this loss. We can walk into the room and without having to explain to us what happened to us, we're all on the same playing field. We know what it feels like to lose somebody. And you can really connect one-on-one because you know that person gets it. When you've been with people who have not, they understand the concept. It's almost like, okay, in 2 weeks you'll be better. I went to your funeral. I went to your celebration of life. I brought you over some casseroles. I called you once or twice. You should be okay now. And we know this is something that's lifelong, right? So we're moving here into joy and legacy. We've talked about, you know, maybe some, what do we call them, hobbies that we had when we were kids. Or what brings us joy now. Diane was talking about what makes her really happy is helping other people. You know, it could be the volunteer activity like I'm saving the sea turtles. We need to now move into this stage in the future of what makes us happy. Because those friends and those family that we thought were going to be around, we've suddenly realized through some terrible ways and not some terrible ways, they're not going to be around. And we need to bring people around us, people who will surround us, who understand what it feels like. And that becomes our community and that becomes our helping hand. So, you know, because I'm looking at time right now, I just want you to move into the next 2 sections on that wheel, joy and legacy, and give yourself a number and write down the emotions that you feel about those sections. Give you like 3 minutes, and then we're going to kind of conclude this portion of it. And when you complete those 2 sections, what I want you to do is connect the dots. I want you to draw a line from each section to the number or the dot that you placed in the number on this wheel. And see what pretty pattern you've developed on this wheel.
Oh, thanks.
I'm going to guess, if you're anything like mine turned out to be, that you are not well-rounded. I think you're going to see a lot of jig-jags. Yeah, jig-jags, flat tires. And what's real important when you look at this visual, I want you to remember this visual. This is your life. These are the sections of your life. You've got highs and lows. And like I said about when you go to the mall and you find that arrow that says, this is here, this is you right now. In order to know that you want to go to that, I don't know, Macy's or whatever store in the mall that you wanted to go to, you have to know where you are in order to know how to get to that place. And you have to learn how to prioritize. Like if finances is the thing that's got your lowest number, you're down to a 0, a 1, a 2, or something like that, well, gosh, it's going to be kind of hard to know you're going to go out and you're going to find new friends because that usually costs some money to go out to dinner or, you know, on a trip or something. I mean, you can always go for a free beach walk, but, you know, you're going to pay for gas in the car to get there. You got to look at it and sort of prioritize by knowing where you are. What you determine is the best place to start moving forward. Something that moves the dial, something that makes you feel like you took 1 step forward, something on this journey of life that says, I'm getting closer to that place I wanted to go. If you decided, I want to go to Rome, you're going to put out this, sort of itinerary. I want to go see all these places. Well, are you going to have to walk? Are you going to take a taxi? Are you going to have a cab? Are you going to fly over there? Are you going to take a boat? Are you going to go on a cruise? Are you going to go out to dinner? You got to know all these places you want to go and the steps you need to take. It's going to cost this much money. I'm going to need this time off of work. I don't want to go alone. I want to bring a friend. They need X amount of months to save up money. Like all these things in life that are out there that you want to do, there's going to be steps you need to take to get there. But you got to know where you are. If it's $5,000 to go to Rome, you got to save $5,000. If you want a person to go with you and they're a teacher and they're only off in the summer, you can only go in the summer. So now you're going to schedule your time in the summer. But this is your life. This is your journey. These are your decisions. And it's all what you want to do to bring, this joy in your life. I have one more follow-on exercise to this, which is going to cement this all. And it involves markers and a white pen. Are you ready for that? So I've got these white poster boards, and we've got some markers. You're going to take one of these white poster boards, and you're going to draw some, let's call them geometric shapes around the borders of the outside. You're going to leave enough room inside, and you're going to write the numbers 1 through 5 down the middle.
Do we need to open the door for them?
Yeah, share, it doesn't matter.
I don't follow.
Yeah, I don't.
It's coming. I just want to make sure everybody's at the same place. So around the outside border of the white page, you're going to take these markers, use the colors you want, use the patterns you want, draw 1.5 inch border all the way around with whatever you choose, whatever colors. I don't care if you draw circles, stars, squares, triangles, you connect the dots, you do squiggly lines. It's whatever you want. You just need it to be colorful. But right in the middle of it, write the numbers 1 through 5. So you're going to have a border of colors, the numbers 1 through 5, right in a row down.
In a column.
In a column.
It can be any shape or.
Any shape. Just make it colorful. Make it happy. Make it joyful.
Okay, say one more time what you want us to do.
I want you to take your white piece of
In the
paper
classroom. I know you explained it 12
around.
Sorry, tell us
Let me-
again.
Let me just take a marker out. Any kind of shape. Around the border, I got blues. I've got greens. I've got yellows. Whatever shape, whatever looks good, you're just going to draw a border all the way around the outside. It's basically to highlight what you're going to be writing on the inside. And you want it to be colorful and happy. And you're going to post this in your home. I have mine tacked up in my bedroom closet because I go into my closet every day and I can read these things. Read these things. And the things that we're going to write in the center are the things we want to accomplish within the next year. So it could be, I want a trip to Rome. I want to save $10,000. I want to learn how to paint. But these have to be things that are meaningful to you. Things that you really want. Things that I would almost say you think are accomplishable in a year. Because your mind right now might think, there's no way I can save $5,000 for a trip to Rome. but you could win the lottery. Somebody could gift you some money. You could suddenly find money in a pillow somewhere. Somebody from the universe could be working on your behalf to point out an IRA that you didn't know they had, and now you're the beneficiary of it. And in the center, do we have black? Yeah. Only use a black marker and you write your numbers 1 through 5, 1 at the top, 2 underneath it, 3 underneath it, 4 underneath it, 5 underneath it. Exactly. A list. And you're going to write in your clearest, boldest letters, in the most succinct way you can, what you know that thing to be means. So you could simply say Rome if that was the trip to Rome. You could say swim if you wanted to learn how to swim. You could say road trip if you wanted to tour the United States or someplace else. And the reason you want this colorful is so that it grabs your attention wherever you put it. And when you go home and you put it someplace, it has to be in a place that you see every day. You could tack it up to your mirror. You could put it over the back of the toilet. You could put it in the kitchen on the bulletin board. It just has to be someplace that you will see it every day. And because we've just done that life alignment compass, you know where your highs are. You know where your lows are. You have a bit more chance to understand what the possibilities are, the emotions that were drummed up, the things that you really wish for that are coming up in life, that can come up in life for you. And when you look at this every day after you've put it up, you're going to read it every day. You're going to read it multiple times a day. It gives you something out in the future to look forward to. Could be family reunion. Could be my 70th birthday bash. Could be my son's wedding. Could be I'm going to graduate college. But it's what's meaningful to you. And eventually, after you look at these things, they might disappear. You're going to look at them probably, every day for the next week after you put them up. And I really would like to hear, after a month or so, you come back to me and say, or anytime something on it came true, I would love to hear you tell me what came true. I've done this now for 6 or 7 years, and everything, literally everything I put on my list came true. And I did not play it safe when I wrote down these 5. My husband and I did this together, and we had said, pay off our debt by June of 2021. And he died in June of 2021, and I paid off. So some things may be, important, like finances, or they could be whimsical, like a road trip, or they could be, I want to write a children's book, I want to paint a picture, I want to learn to play guitar, I want to go volunteer at the children's hospital. It's really up to you. It's what means. I find if I make a plan for something each month, something that hangs out in the future, it's the one thing that will get me up and out of the house. Because I also find if I don't have a reason to get in my car and go out, I don't. And there's something about putting pen to paper, marker to paper. There's something about the creative juices that it's like journaling. It allows your imagination to flow. It brings more possibilities to you. It's like the brain connected to the heart that comes out your fingers, and it's the excitement about seeing your dreams in print. Because the more you see it, the more you believe. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be what you. I'm a person who loves check boxes and lists. I will even write a list after I've accomplished something that I never had on a list because I want to put the check mark next. I try to do this once a year, usually at the end of December, for the coming year. And I actually look forward to taking out the markers and the paper. It's funny because I'm looking at all your faces as you're doing this, and I'm seeing more smiles than I've seen for a while. It seems like this is a positive exercise. We've been through some heavy stuff this weekend. I can't even tell you how proud I am of you for just showing up, for staying, for doing the work. A lot of people have been here this weekend. Maybe through no fault of their own, they left, and you stayed, and you stuck it out.
Exhausted this morning.
I was so exhausted last night when I went home, absolutely. But think about the lightness, perhaps, that you're feeling a little bit now at the end of this adventure, at the end of this short journey, and to know that that person whose picture you brought into this exercise with you is right by you, perhaps whispering some ideas of what you might be able to do here in the future. They're feeling the lightness in your energy. They're happy that you're a little bit more happier. They're happy that you've got a goal out front. They're happy that you're living the life that you have. And that younger self of you, that one that doesn't know who they're going to be when they grow up, and the person that you can be telling them, I got your back. We're going to come through this. This is a journey from grief toward joy. This is your moment. This is your life that you're designing. These are the friendships that you can make, the community that you can be part of. Does anybody want to share what they have on their page? You don't have to. It could be very personal, but it also might be inspiring for somebody. It might also be a way of accountability, like I'm going to do this because I told the group I was going to do this. If anybody wants to share, let me know.
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, I have to fix an RV we have up in the Pocono, so I'll fix that. I want to volunteer to help folks that I haven't figured out yet. I've gone to a few organizations, but just haven't been a fit for me. They're great organizations, but they just don't fit for me in the way I like to do things. I still have to do our trust and our wills will do, and we're Irish Catholics, so we'd like to go to Medjugorje or Lourdes in the next year or two, which we will do. And we're planning a family trip to Alaska because our son spent some time there the year he died, so we'd like to do that also.
That's pretty awesome. Anybody else want to share?
I want to join a volunteer group, which I can kind of sort of check that off already. Make one new friend. Take a day trip to the east side of Florida, because I've not really ever spent time over there. See an Atlantic sunset. Finish my book, the third or fourth version of it, and do a paint and sip. Those are my 6 so far.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Career, since I threw
Find
my
one.
towel in after 20 years of mine, start a new one, find one.
Yeah.
Start painting, that's something I want to do. Pay down the Jeep so that I could get a car that I want, and more weekend trips.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm
Nice.
at.
Good. I'm putting that on my thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm stealing that one.
I have 6 more.
Okay, so my bucket list is Alaska, Italy, and Egypt. So those are 3 places I'm definitely going to in the next year. Since I broke up with my partner, I have not dated, so I would hope in the next 6 months I would start dating again.
I would like to write a children's book. I really love Pilates, so I'd love to be a Pilates instructor. I want to get a dog. And I want to start a scholarship fund in my son's name.
These are so exciting.
Yes, yes.
So, in January, I'm gonna be first-time grandma, so my number one is granddaughter, because you know when you have a grandchild, they're always your number one. I'd like to take a family trip, not just with my son, but my nieces and nephews. And the other thing is getting healthier. I'd love to go to Italy and move to Delaware.
Wow. So when you all leave here, I really seriously want you to post this. Post this in some place you're going to see every day. Look at it multiple times a day. Eventually, in a few months from now, it's going to kind of sort of fade, like it'll be on the wall, but you won't really see it, kind of like other pictures and things we have in the house. But your eye will eventually be drawn back to it, especially if you go to check the box that you've got it planned and you did it. Diane?
List. And that's to connect with the friends I made this weekend.
Oh, yeah, for
So
sure.
can you say it again?
Yes, I want to stay connected with the friends, all of you people here that I made this weekend.
Yeah,
Well, you don't have to be friends at my office.
Yeah.
We can do, we all
Yeah.
talked about road trips and weekend trips, and we both have cruises on a list, so I've never been on a cruise, so.
yeah, let's do it.
Because we're very connected and we have no judgment,
Yeah,
so
That's
that's
great.
what I think.
yeah,
And I think we all feel safe with each other.
yeah.
So, we've shared a lot of things
Yeah,
and none of us have judged any of it. We've all been there to hold your hand or to help you through all of this. We've all helped each other.
yeah. Agree.
I'm really proud of you. I hope this helped. And I absolutely agree with Diane says. We need to stay in touch. Thank you for coming.
Agree.